My name is Kelsey Whitaker, 29, and every Thanksgiving I still walk into my parents' house in Paradise Valley like I'm 16 again. Tonight, the dining room smells like turkey and tension. My older brother Blake is holding court at the head table arm around Savannah, both of them glowing because they just closed on that insane $6 million house in Silverleaf everyone's talking about. Dad raises his glass and says it loud enough for the whole table to hear. "When are you ever going to have your own house?" Like your older brother Blake smirks, leans back and adds, "Probably only in your dreams." The words land exactly how they always do. I don't say anything. I just reach into my purse, pull out a small black USB drive and set it on the white tablecloth between the cranberry sauce and the rolls. Blake's smile freezes. Savannah's fork stops halfway to her mouth. Dad's eyebrows draw together like he's trying to solve a problem he doesn't understand yet. I let the silence sit there for 3 full seconds, and Blake's face turns the color of the mashed potatoes. If you've ever been the family punchline, stay until the end, because this one's for you. Like and subscribe, so you don't miss what happens when the quiet one finally speaks. Let's go. 4 years earlier. I was 25 and already tired of watching my older brother Blake Whitaker, then 28, dig himself into holes he couldn't climb out of. He had maxed out every credit card he owned, nearly $300,000 in total, and the collectors were calling the house in Paradise Valley so often that Mom had stopped answering the landline. My husband Dylan Brooks and I had just closed our first big commercial flip in downtown Phoenix, and the profit was sitting in an account doing nothing. One night, over takeout tacos in our tiny Tempe apartment, Dylan looked at me and said the thing I had already been thinking for weeks. "We could buy Blake the house he keeps posting about on Instagram. Full cash, no mortgage, in his name. He'll never have to worry about payments again." I stared at the mood board Blake had sent the family group chat, the one with the $6 million estate in Silverleaf, the gated golf course community everyone in Scottsdale pretends they don't care about, but secretly obsesses over. The house was perfect, too perfect for someone who couldn't even keep the lights on. We formed an LLC the next week, something boring like KW Desert Holdings, and wired the money from escrow. The sellers never met us in person. In Arizona, that's normal when the buyer is an entity. Title transferred clean, and suddenly, I own the biggest house my brother had ever dreamed of. I spent 3 evenings at the dining table printing the warranty deed, the preliminary title report, the HOA disclosure, everything he would need to move in and feel like a king. I even had 2 sets of keys made and put them in a velvet pouch, because that felt like the kind of detail Blake would brag about later. Dylan watched me seal the FedEx envelope and asked the question I didn't want to answer. "You sure you don't want to tell him it's from you?" I shook my head and wrote the return address in careful block letters. K. Whitaker, P.O. Box in Phoenix. "They'll figure it out when they're ready," I said, even though I already suspected they never would. The package required a signature, so I tracked it like a hawk. Delivery attempted Tuesday morning. Redelivery scheduled Wednesday at 10:15. Signature confirmed by someone named S. Holt, Savannah Holt, the woman Blake had been dating for 6 months and already calling the future Mrs. Whitaker. I opened the Ring app on my phone the second the motion alert popped up. The camera I had installed the week before closing, because I always install cameras when I buy investment properties, caught everything in crisp 4K. Savannah walked out in yoga leggings and an oversized sweater, signed the electronic pad, and carried the flat FedEx box back toward the front door. She stopped under the portico, looked down at the return label, and her face changed. The smile she had given the driver vanished. She read my name again, slower this time, then glanced around like someone might be watching. No one was. She walked straight to the side of the house where the recycling bins lived behind the lattice screen, lifted the lid, and dropped the unopened box inside like it was junk mail. The velvet pouch with the keys made a soft thud against the cardboard. She wiped her hands on her leggings, went back inside, and shut the door. I sat on the couch with the phone in my lap and felt something inside me go very still. Dylan came home an hour later, took one look at my face, and knew. He didn't ask if I was okay. He just opened his laptop, downloaded the 60-second clip before the cloud rolled over it, and saved it to an encrypted drive. That same week, Mom started complaining that she never got any mail from me anymore. I logged into the shared family iCloud from my computer one night while Dylan was asleep and found the new filter sitting at the top of her rules list. If sender contains Kelsey and subject contains Silverleaf, or house or deed, then delete permanently. Created Wednesday at 11:04 a.m., right after Savannah had finished her workout. I closed the laptop and stared at the ceiling for a long time. Part of me wanted to drive to Scottsdale that same night, bang on the door, and demand the keys back. But a quieter part, the part that had spent a lifetime being told I wasn't enough, decided something else. I transferred the first mortgage payment from the LLC account 2 days later, then set up auto-pay for property taxes and the insane Silverleaf HOA dues. Every month, the money left my account and landed in places Blake would never see. He moved in 3 weeks after closing, posted the first photo from the infinity pool with the caption, "Finally made it," and never once mentioned where the house came from. Savannah tagged the kitchen island in every sponsored post for the next 4 years. And I kept paying. I told myself it was easier this way. No gratitude required, no explanations, no risk of Blake ruining something I actually cared about. But every transfer confirmation that landed in my inbox felt like a tiny cut, and over 48 months those cuts added up to a scar I couldn't ignore anymore. The dining room in Paradise Valley is loud with silverware and forced laughter the way it always is when my father Ronald Whitaker decides to play proud dad. He's halfway through his second bourbon and feeling generous with compliments that only ever go in one direction. He lifts his glass toward Blake and announces to the entire table, cousins included, "My son just got approved for a $4.8 million loan on that Silverleaf estate. Hard work pays off." Then he turns to me with the same smile he's used since I was 12 and adds, "Guess Kelsey will keep renting that little downtown Phoenix apartment forever." A couple of aunts chuckle politely. Savannah leans into Blake's shoulder and flashes the diamond he bought her last month, the one that cost more than my first car. Blake doesn't even try to hide the smirk. He locks eyes with me and says it loud enough for the kids' table to hear, probably only in your dreams. The words hit the same spot they always do. I feel Mom shift beside me, already bracing for me to shrink the way I usually do. But tonight the spot doesn't bruise, it just goes cold. I wipe my mouth with the linen napkin, set it down, and look straight at Dad. "That house isn't financed by any bank," I say, calm enough that the conversation keeps rolling for half a second before it registers. "It's been paid in full under my LLC since 2021. Silence drops so fast the ice in Dad's glass cracks. Then Blake laughs one sharp bark that turns into a full belly laugh, and Savannah joins in like I just told the best joke of the night. Even Mom gives an awkward little chuckle, the kind that says, "Please don't make a scene on a holiday." Dad shakes his head amused and reaches for the carving knife again. "Good one, sweetheart." "Pass the gravy." I don't smile back. I stand up slowly enough that every head turns. The chair legs scrape against the travertine floor and the sound feels louder than it should. I walk the 6 steps to the built-in credenza where the Apple TV remote lives, pick up the small black USB drive I carried in all evening, and slide it into the port on the side of the 85-inch screen above the fireplace. The football game that was playing in the background disappears. A plain blue folder appears instead, labeled simply Silverleaf. Blake stops laughing first. Savannah's wine glass pauses halfway to her lips. Dad sets the carving knife down with a clink that echoes. Mom whispers my name like a warning, the same tone she used when I was 10, and threatened to tell Grandma the Christmas gifts were from Costco. I pick up the remote and click the folder open. 48 months of mortgage statements fill the screen in neat rows, every single one showing a 0 balance because the full amount was wired the day we closed. Next to that, the recorded warranty deed with KW Desert Holdings LLC listed as grantee. My initials are the only human name anywhere on the page. The room stays quiet long enough for the fireplace to pop. Blake finally finds his voice, but it comes out higher than normal. That's not possible. We have loan documents. I signed a $4.8 million note last month. Savannah nods too fast. Exactly. The bank ran our credit. We have pre-approval letters. Dad looks from the screen to me and back again, the bourbon forgotten in his hand. I let them stare at the evidence for another few seconds, then click to the next file. A single photograph fills the screen, the original FedEx tracking page showing delivered and signed for by S. Holt 4 years ago. I don't say anything else yet. I just let the numbers and the dates do the talking. Someone's phone buzzes in a purse and nobody moves to answer it. Blake's face has lost all its color, the smugness replaced by something closer to panic. Savannah keeps glancing at him like she's waiting for him to fix this the way he always fixes things, with charm and a smile. Dad finally clears his throat. Kelsey, turn that off and sit down. You're ruining Thanksgiving. I meet his eyes without blinking. No, Dad. I'm just getting started. The fireplace is the only sound for a few seconds while everyone stares at the warranty deed glowing on the screen. I click the remote again, and the next file opens without a title, just a date from 4 years ago. The Ring camera footage starts playing in full color. Savannah walks into frame wearing the exact same yoga outfit she posted on her stories that week, signs for the FedEx box, and pauses under the covered entry. She flips it over, reads the return label out loud under her breath, and the camera picks up every word: K. Whitaker. Her face hardens in a way I've never seen in any of her sponsored content. She looks left, looks right, then carries the box to the recycling area and drops it straight in without opening the tape. The velvet pouch with the house keys makes a dull clunk against the cardboard before the lid slams shut. The timestamp in the corner reads 10:18 a.m., less than an hour after delivery. Blake makes a choking sound and stands up so fast his chair tips backward. Savannah's hand flies to her mouth, but it's too late. The video loops once more on silent and nobody can look away. I let it run a second time just to be sure every cousin at the kids' table sees exactly what happened. Then I switch to the next slide, a screenshot of Mom's mail rules on the family iCloud, the one that permanently deletes anything from my address containing the words Silverleaf deed or house. The date it was created matches the same morning as the video. I finally speak low, and even the way you talk when you're done pretending. I kept everything because I knew one day I'd need it. Privacy stopped mattering the day you threw away my gift. Mom's face crumples like someone just told her the dog died. She reaches toward the screen as if she can delete the evidence with her bare hand. Dad finally sets his glass down hard enough that bourbon splashes onto the tablecloth. Nobody notices. Garrett Holt, Savannah's father, who flew in from Tucson for dinner, has been quiet until now, but he leans forward and studies the deed, like he's reading a contract he's about to tear up. He's the one who helped Blake structure the fake mortgage story to impress investors for their joint venture. Blake starts talking fast, the words tumbling over each other. That video could be edited. Anybody can fake a timestamp? This is insane. Savannah finds her voice and it comes out shrill. You spied on us. That's illegal. You can't just put cameras in someone else's house. I tilt my head and look at her for the first time all night. It was my house. I installed the cameras before you ever stepped foot in it. I'm still the admin on every device. Garrett pulls out his phone and starts typing with his thumbs jaw tight. Dad tries the authority voice he used when we were teenagers. Kelsey, take this down right now. We'll talk about it later like adults. I ignore him and click to the final folder. 48 individual bank statements scroll slowly across the screen, each one showing a transfer from KW Desert Holdings to the escrow company, the tax authority, the Silverleaf HOA. The total at the bottom is $5,800,000, exactly paid in full 4 years ago. There isn't a single loan in Blake's name anywhere, because there never needed to be. Savannah whispers something that sounds like "oh my God" over and over, rocking slightly in her chair. Blake's hands are shaking so badly he can't pick up the water glass he reaches for. Mom starts crying quietly into her napkin. Garrett finishes his text, slips the phone back in his pocket, and looks at Dad across the table with an expression that isn't anger yet. It's the calm before it. Nobody touches the pumpkin pie cooling on the sideboard. I stand there holding the remote and feel the years of quiet payments settle into the room like dust nobody wants to breathe. The video ends on its own, and the screen goes black, reflecting 15 faces that don't look like family anymore. Ja zak nan ju mo ye kao kong sai sot. Fan 5 jung bu kuk jan thong, nat mo jau mok thoi gian kong hach lai, but kichi tiet, kudiling suat hien lan jau voi, vitra my husband Dylan Brooks, sao jo goi Dylan. Jodai jung, tekona nusas tu chin hksak. Part 5, 1080 words, exactly. 8:30 p.m. Garrett stands up first, his chair scraping loud against the tile, and the veins in his neck look ready to burst. He pulls out his phone hit speaker and dials a number from memory without even looking at the screen. The call connects on the second ring, and a calm male voice answers Holt Group Legal. This is Marcus. Garrett doesn't waste time on greetings. Start termination proceedings on the joint venture with Whitaker Development first thing tomorrow. $45 million is off the table. I want every clause invoked. He ends the call just as fast and drops the phone on the table like it's hot. Dad goes pale because that single deal was supposed to carry his company for the next 5 years, and everyone in the room knows it. Blake drops to his knees right there between the dining table and the fireplace, hands clasped in front of him like he's praying. Garrett, please. We can fix this. It's just a misunderstanding. His voice cracks on the last word, and tears start running down his face faster than he can wipe them away. Savannah slides off her chair and grabs my arm hard enough to leave marks. You did this because you're jealous. You've always been jealous of us. She's sobbing so hard the words come out, broken mascara already streaking down her cheeks. I pull my arm free without raising my voice. Let go of me. The front door opens quietly behind us, and my husband Dylan Brooks steps inside carrying a thin manila envelope. He's been waiting on the porch since 7, coat folded over his arm because the desert night turned cold. He walks straight to me, kisses the side of my head like this is any other family dinner, then turns to face the room. In his calm lawyer voice, he says, KW Desert Holdings, LLC, served a 30-day notice to vacate this morning by certified mail and posted it on the residence at Silverleaf this afternoon at 3:12 p.m., all according to Arizona statute. He hands the envelope to Blake, who is still on his knees. Inside is the official notice on heavy cream paper with the LLC seal and a return receipt green card already signed by the process server. Dad finally finds words. You can't kick your own brother out on Thanksgiving. Dylan answers before I can. The property belongs to the LLC. Blake and Savannah are tenants at sufferance. The notice is lawful and final. Savannah lunges toward the envelope like she can rip it up and make it disappear, but Garrett catches her wrist gently and pulls her back. His face is stone now. Don't make this worse, honey. She collapses against him, crying harder, ruining the front of his cashmere sweater. Blake looks up at me from the floor, eyes red and desperate. Kelsey, I'll pay you rent. I'll pay whatever you want. Just don't do this. I crouch down so we're eye level for the first time in years. You never paid a single dollar. Not one. I did. He opens his mouth and nothing comes out. Behind him, Savannah is whispering, I didn't know. I didn't know, into her dad's shoulder like a broken record. Mom tries to stand between us, hands fluttering like she can smooth everything back into place. We're family. We don't sue each other. We don't evict each other. Garrett shakes his head slowly. Your daughter just cost me $45 million and my daughter her reputation. This isn't family anymore. He guides Savannah toward the door, grabbing her coat off the rack on the way out. Dad watches them go, and something in his face collapses. The man who spent 20 years bragging about his golden son suddenly looks old. Blake stays on his knees long after the front door closes behind Garrett and Savannah. The turkey has gone cold on the platter and nobody is pretending to eat anymore. From the next morning to 5 months later. The first thing that happened was silence from the entire family group chat for 72 hours straight, something that had never occurred in the 15 years since it was created. Then the certified letters started arriving at the Silverleaf house one every week, from the trustee handling the non-judicial foreclosure once the LLC stopped making payments in December. Arizona law allows the process to move fast when there is no actual loan in the occupant's name, and the average timeline from notice of default to auction is about 120 days. Blake hired 2 different attorneys who both told him the same thing after reviewing the title. The property never belonged to him, and there was no defense. By February, the moving trucks showed up on day 121 exactly. Blake had spent the previous month begging friends for a spare bedroom while Savannah flew to Tucson to stay with Garrett, who refused to take his calls anymore. The sheriff's deputy posted the final lockout notice on the front door at 9 in the morning, and the movers carried out the marble kitchen island Savannah loved so much because it technically belonged to the fixture list under the LLC. Blake stood on the driveway in sweatpants watching his flat screen get loaded into a truck and didn't say a word. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, the divorce papers were filed in Maricopa County. Savannah signed them the same day they were served and moved her remaining clothes into her old bedroom at her parents' house in Tucson. Her Instagram following dropped from 800,000 to under 300,000 once the story leaked that the dream house everyone envied had never been theirs. Brands canceled contracts overnight and the comments turned brutal in a way only the internet can manage. Dad's company started bleeding cash the moment Garrett pulled out of the 320-lot subdivision they were supposed to break ground on in January. That single project accounted for 70% of projected revenue for the next 3 fiscal years. By March, he had laid off 60 employees, including people who had been with Whitaker Development since before I was born. The bank called the line of credit and Dad spent weeks on the phone trying to refinance assets that were suddenly worth less because the market caught wind of the canceled deal. In April, he sold the company to a larger builder out of Vegas for pennies on the dollar just to cover payroll and avoid bankruptcy court. Blake took a job selling used cars at a dealership off the I-17 in North Phoenix, the kind of place with plastic flags and 0% financing banners. He wore wrinkled khakis and a polo with someone else's name stitched on it because they didn't have his size in stock. Savannah tried to restart her influencer career with morning routine videos from her childhood bedroom, but the engagement never recovered. Garrett paid for her therapy and refused to discuss the Whitakers at the dinner table anymore. Dylan and I stayed in our downtown condo and watched everything unfold from a distance. We didn't celebrate. We just kept living the life we had built long before any of this started. 8 months later, Dylan and I signed the papers on a penthouse in downtown Phoenix the first week of August, 38 floors up, with windows that catch the sunset over the mountains every single night. We moved in over a long weekend, just the 2 of us carrying boxes and laughing about how the elevator in the new building is faster than the one in our old condo. The first morning we woke up there, the city was quiet below us, and the coffee tasted better than it ever had. Mom's email arrived on a Tuesday in late September. The subject line simply read, "I'm sorry," and the message was longer than anything she had ever written me. She talked about how proud she had always been of Blake, how easy it was to keep giving him chances, how blind she had been to what it cost me. At the bottom was a Venmo notification for $100,000 with the memo for your future children. I stared at the screen for a long time, then transferred the money back with a single line. "We're done. Please lose my number." I blocked her email, her phone, her socials, and for the first time in 29 years, the silence on my end finally matched the silence I had lived with on theirs. Blake now works at a used car lot off Power Road in Mesa. He spends his days walking customers around rows of 5-year-old sedans and trying to hit quota so he can keep the lights on in the 1-bedroom apartment he rents above a tire shop. Some afternoons he still wears the same fake smile he used at family dinners, but the desert sun has started to show on his face in ways Botox can't fix. Savannah never came back from Tucson. Her follower count settled just above 150,000, and most of the comments are from people who remember the scandal. She deleted the old grid, started posting flat lays of coffee cups and quotes about growth, but the sponsorships never returned. Garrett bought her a small condo near her childhood home so she wouldn't have to keep sleeping in her old twin bed. Dad and Mom put the Paradise Valley house on the market in June. It sat for 90 days before they accepted an offer $200,000 below, asking because the rumors about the canceled subdivision had already spread through every country club in Scottsdale. They moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Glendale with beige carpet and a view of the parking lot. Dad plays golf alone now, and Mom volunteers at the library on Tuesdays because the house is too quiet. I ran into Mom once by accident at Whole Foods near our new place. She was pushing a cart with just a few things and looked smaller than I remembered. She saw me first, opened her mouth like she might speak, then closed it again and walked the other way. I finished my shopping and went home to Dylan waiting with takeout on the balcony. Some families are the ones you're born into. Some are the ones you choose. I chose peace. Blake lost the life he pretended was his. Savannah lost the audience she performed for. Mom and Dad lost the story they told themselves about who mattered most. And I finally stopped paying for people who never saw me. That's the end of this one. If you made it to the end, thank you for listening. If you've ever had to walk away from people who were supposed to love you unconditionally, drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and you're not as alone as it feels. Hit subscribe if this spoke to you. Share it with someone who needs to hear they're allowed to choose themselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.